Chair, that is all the non-agenda public testimony for today.
All right, thanks.
I'll move on to R1.
Thank you.
R1, release of Chair's executive FY 2025 budget.
2026.
Living in the past.
Yeah. We're just going to do it right now. Good morning, everyone. It is a real privilege to be here today to release my FY 26 Chair's executive budget and the kickoff that this does for the public part of our budget process here for the board. Even in the toughest budget years, Multnomah County's work is vital to the well-being of our community. That's why the budget I propose today makes the best use of the dollars we have to serve our community's essential needs. It makes sure resources are going to the people who rely on them the most and whose needs we must prioritize during these challenging times. This budget shares how I've balanced hard decisions to put my priorities into direct services, homeless services, public safety, and mental health and substance use support. The county is the safety net for each of us, the largest community in our state. Cuts across our organization can be devastating to individuals who rely on us as a last resort. Our job is to meet our neighbors and friends on their hardest days and help them live, rise, and thrive. I believe in a Multnomah County where families and children are safe, healthy, and prosperous, where everyone has a place to call home with support to persevere through a personal crisis, where racial disparities are addressed and all are welcome. In my budget, those values show up in three overarching themes: health and safety for all, support for those in the most vulnerable situations, and upholding our values and planning for prosperity. Local government feels more important today than ever before. Our nation and our democracy are under threat. Our county must be a safe haven for our values of democracy, equity, accountability, kindness, and support for one another. I'm raising my children in this community. The future that I'm working for them is something that I want for everyone. Our community is facing a grim economic forecast with fewer dollars to spend on things our families and neighbors need. We're required to make tens of millions of dollars in cuts compared to our last year's budget. At the same time, we know the county's support and services are increasingly important as the federal government is more volatile and unstable than at any point in my lifetime. For all those reasons, this is a tough budget. Tough budgets require tough decisions and trade-offs. I'm prioritizing direct services that are most impactful and effective for people struggling to make ends meet, who are homeless, who are ill, have disabilities, have no access to other care. I am prioritizing programs that serve children and families. I'm prioritizing communities most impacted by disparities and systemic challenges. I'm continuing programs that prevent homelessness, improve health outcomes, protect public safety, and strengthen resilience. I'm making administrative reductions to streamline our operations and strategic cuts to programs that are not as impactful as we need them to be. My aim with these reductions is to improve efficiency and reduce overhead. But I've also had to take reductions in case management, technical assistance, peer navigation, and the elimination of programs and grants that we know serve people. With those savings, I've preserved life-saving interventions and programs to keep people housed, move people from shelter into housing, and maintain rental assistance and shelter beds so the number of unsheltered people in our streets does not increase. The dollars we have for homelessness are significantly less than what we've had in recent years, and far less than what we need to truly address the heartbreaking and complex challenges of having so many people living on our streets. It's not possible to make cuts to this degree and not have it affect the services we provide. Still, my budget ensures no shelter bed is lost and no health clinic is closed. I've maintained areas where we've seen progress in recent years. Investments have led to reductions in violence and crime. Effective initiatives have been successful in helping tackle the mental health and addiction crisis. We've created and maintained miles of improved roads and bridges. We're rebuilding animal services and making countywide improvements to workplace security, information technology, and community engagement. We've executed the most complex election in the county's history with the introduction of ranked choice voting. We have much more to be proud of in the impacts we're making. Those impacts include the following key areas: health and safety for all. Multnomah County is directly responsible for supporting everyone's health at every stage of life. In 2025, Multnomah County ranked among the United States' healthiest communities. My priority is to ensure we can continue to respond to the health crisis on our streets, in our schools, and across our community, while promoting public health and safety to prevent these crises from happening in the first place. I've protected direct services, cut administrative dollars, and refocused around how our programs affect the people we serve. Each of us also deserves to live in a safe community. We know that when our streets are safe for everyone, our services are more accessible. Multnomah County plays a key role in safety through improved conditions in our neighborhood and services that directly respond to crime, hold people accountable, protect people and property from harm, and support victims. The county is also responsible for ensuring health and safety of adults and young people in our custody. Our approach centers people held accountable for their crimes, reduces racial disparities, and sets people up for success after they leave custody. Funding community safety is critically important to our society. This budget funds community safety programs from prevention to accountability with very few service impacts. While almost every department was asked to cut services, I fully preserved the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office budget. The Department of Community Justice took just a 3% cut. 11 positions in the DA's office were funded with one-time only funding in FY25. This FY26 budget permanently adds those 11 positions, increasing the district attorney's base budget by $2.2 million prior to taking any reductions. In the sheriff's office, this budget sustains 12 human resources positions for a total of $1.7 million to support the hiring and retention of staff. This investment has led to progress already, filling many vacancies. This budget also invests $292.2 million to support quality health services. This means you can access quality medical, dental, and pharmacy services through our network of health clinics. It means you can visit a restaurant or a public pool confident that you won't be exposed to food or waterborne diseases. And if you're a new parent, it means you can find healthy food and caring support during those critical early childhood years. All of us know the toll that the mental health and addiction crisis has had on our community. A neighbor walking down the street exhibiting signs of psychosis, a family member dying from a fentanyl overdose. Substance use has worsened dramatically in the last few years, driven by fentanyl and methamphetamine, and a lack of state investment in adequate services for substance use disorder. There is no single cause or solution to these issues, and a range of efforts from prevention to treatment services and recovery support is needed to meet the needs of our community. To treat the drug addiction crisis, this budget dedicates $131 million for substance use prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery programs, including services offered by our departments in collaboration with more than 100 community partners. We have to provide support for those in the most vulnerable situations. We all want to see people in our community living lives filled with respect, safety, and dignity. Many populations across Multnomah County face barriers to making this kind of life possible. When you think about your county government, providing programs and services that support each one of these people is our reason for being here and our most fundamental daily call to action. One of the county's primary functions in this crisis is to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place by providing emergency rental assistance. At the same time, people experiencing homelessness cannot end their homelessness without affordable housing and rental assistance. We know they benefit from supportive services to maintain housing and to improve health conditions. Our work to interrupt every part of the cycle that makes and keeps people homeless is the core work of our Homeless Response Action Plan, which has brought a comprehensive, accountable approach to helping people and reducing suffering. This budget meets action plan goals, funding 832 shelter beds, adding 49 family shelter beds, and keeping 230 congregate shelter beds open. It maintains permanent housing units for every person currently housed in one, and maintains funding levels for our work to help more people move through shelter and back into housing. To preserve the direct services that move people off the streets and into warm, safe places, I have reprioritized a total of $28.9 million in general fund to help fill the gap created by the loss of the supportive housing services and other revenue. A thriving community is created not just with a place to live and a meal on the table, but through social ties that create connections made by supporting professionals and welcoming places to gather with others. The Department of County Human Services provides resources that enrich environments for youth and young adults, particularly resources that address risks. Recent estimates show that 15% of the county's residents are 65 and over. 10% of residents live with disabilities, and an estimated 34,000 veterans live here. Our programs for these residents promote independence, dignity, and choice. My budget maintains current service levels and programming for vital services for elders, meeting the needs of more than 50,000 of our families and neighbors in person-centered programming, long-term case management, special needs support, prescription assistance, emergency rides, and short-term intensive housing case management. While our homelessness, addiction, and community safety work are priorities, we are responsible for our safety net, from building out free preschool for every child to renovating our systems of libraries to serving as our local public health and mental health authority. This work remains just as crucial. Upholding our values and planning for prosperity. Our mission is to improve the well-being of those in Multnomah County by providing accessible, high-quality, and innovative public services. Services designed to create stability, enhance opportunities, and reduce disparities. My vision is a diverse, thriving community with a sustainable future where all are safe, connected, and empowered to contribute. During these tough times, we uphold our county's values: accountability, social and environmental justice, inclusively leading with race, equity, and inclusion, and safety and well-being. These values underpin our work and foster safety, trust, and belonging, ensuring our actions consistently reflect our principles. A positive employee experience is vital. Employees are the backbone of Multnomah County, directly delivering services to those in the most vulnerable situations. When our employees feel supported, valued, and ready to succeed, they are better able to bring high-quality services to those who need them the most. Our Workforce Equity Strategic Plan continues to guide the county's policies and practices, providing concrete actions for our workforce that promote access, fairness, and belonging, and address racial disparities. This budget ensures our core values of equity and inclusion are embedded throughout our work. I am also directing County Human Resources to take an in-depth look at HR roles across the county to improve employee experience and find ways to address concerns faster and with more consistency. This includes a review and redesign of our complaints investigation unit. I have heard the concerns of our employees and labor partners and have made this a priority for county leadership to address this coming year. While prosperity might not always feel achievable for everyone in our community, it should be. Preparing for a sustainable future takes looking across small but meaningful investments designed to make sure each of us is safe, connected, and empowered to contribute. I believe every Multnomah County budget should balance the things we need today with the things we're likely to need tomorrow. With $92.9 million to maintain and improve the physical conditions of Multnomah County buildings, we take pride in maintaining high levels of investment to address concerns before they become longstanding or costly. The challenge this year and every year is balancing the budget. Any budget built when resources are constrained requires tough trade-offs, and we've had to make many of those. I want to take this moment to recognize the difficulties that may result from these decisions, especially for county employees and clients directly affected. In order to preserve frontline services, we identified opportunities to streamline operations and took cuts in administration across many departments. We've taken staff reductions across all departments, with the loss of 102 total full-time equivalent positions, focusing on reducing vacant positions as much as possible. We're also cutting programs we love, but are much more difficult to sustain at this challenging moment when we must continue to fund so many other services that people need to stay safe, healthy, and thriving. Losses include our public campaign finance program. the resources to enforce the City of Portland's gas-powered leaf blower ban, the Nurse Family Partnership Program, and our Passport and Photo ID program. As government services move online, our hope is passport renewal may be something that can be accessed within the comfort of your own home. The Public Campaign Finance Program was new to our budget in FY25. In a time when we are facing incredibly tough choices in direct service programs, I'm making the difficult decision to pause developing the program this year while keeping its structure in place. I have also long been a champion of our work to improve air quality by phasing out gas-powered leaf blowers, which made the decision to cut this program difficult, all the more difficult. Despite the loss here, our Public Health Division and Office of Sustainability will continue to support City of Portland leaders as they implement the city's ordinance to diminish the noise and air quality impacts of gas-powered leaf blowers. Lastly, our Nurse Family Partnership Program will not be continued. This program is part of a larger system of home visiting services where other capacity is being preserved. With the new Board of County Commissioners, we must continue our collaborative focus to make sure the work we do together is the most effective in getting results. I've appreciated learning about my colleagues' priorities and areas of focus and look forward to this next step to undertake the work of adopting a final budget together. As part of our next phase of work, this new board is also working to modernize our board rules, which we're updating for the first time in more than a decade. To help streamline board meetings and the sharing of board materials, we're investing in improving the systems that support the work of our board clerk. We have much to be proud of around how we do our work and make our decisions. My commitment is clear. I make every decision from deep dialogue with county leaders and extensive engagement with the people of this county. Our office heard from more than 4,000 people through my annual budget survey. My team and I held a February community town hall, responded to hundreds of constituent testimonies and emails, and engaged in conversations and discussions with many local leaders, providers, and advocates. We also worked closely with our county community budget advisory committees, who had an opportunity this year to provide their feedback in advance of my executive budget and whose thoughts were included in these choices. Thank you for taking the time to engage with our office and county. Your voice really matters. Thank you also to the many county staff who supported our CBACs and to the Office of Community Involvement led by Director Amada Perez. I want to thank the dedicated staff in my office, my Chief of Staff Jenny Smith, Deputy Chief of Staff Stacy Bork, our team members Sarah Guest, Stephen Herrera, Renee Husinger, Heather Lyons, Natalie Minus, Garrett Pryor, Ann Bew, Matt McNelly, and Diane Gabaldon. And happy Administrative Assistance Day, Diana. With special thanks to my Budget and Strategic Partners Director, Sarah Ryan, for her tireless stewardship in this process. My gratitude goes out to the entire Multnomah County Central Budget Office, led by Budget Director Christian Elkin and County Economist Jeff Renvo, for the exceptional tools and insights they provided and all their teams provided every step of the way to help us thoughtfully and strategically navigate this constraint year. I am also thankful for Chief Financial Officer Eric Ariano, whose commitment to fiscal stewardship keeps this county on stable financial footing year after year, and for the daily partnership with our former interim Chief Operating Officer Travis Graves and his team during this period. His support and partnership during this whole budget process was vital. I so appreciate insightful and consistency of our Chief Diversity and Equity Officer, Joy Fowler, who works with us every step of the way to ensure that equity is woven through our organization. I also want to thank Multnomah County Communications Director, Julie Sullivan-Springhetti, Dennis Thuralt, and the entire county communications team for their commitment to communicating this information so well. I also want to thank our new Chief Operating Officer, Chris Neal, who joined us at the end of these executive budget decisions, but will be instrumental both in our budget process from here and in implementing this year's budget inside of each department's work. Also, thank you so much to our very hardworking department directors, Mohammed Bader, Rachel Banks, Margie Bradway, Dan Field, Tracy Massey, and Denise Pena, as well as County Attorney Jenny Madcar and Library Director Annie Lewis for their consistent leadership. I also want to thank Deputy CEO Justin Black. His new leadership role has proven critical in these first few months. I want to thank in advance my colleagues on this board, Commissioners Megan Moyer, Shannon Singleton, Julia Brim-Edwards, and Vince Jones-Dixon, for their critical role in this next phase of the budget process. For most, it will be their first budget as a county commissioner. The depth of expertise they each bring and their collective commitment to serving and elevating the voices and concerns of the people of Multnomah County will be invaluable to passing a budget that rises to the challenges of this moment. We all know that our world is in flux. Under my leadership, our community can trust that the county will continue to prioritize and center people who face the most challenging circumstances. The fact that we have these services in our community is a testament to the power of our representative democracy. This is also an important moment for all of us to remember the values that drive our commitments to each other. In putting our energies into direct services and staying focused on our shared commitments like the Homeless Response Action Plan, we will continue to be the Multnomah County most needed by our community. And we'll keep working on becoming America's favorite county. Now, I am happy to turn things over to Kristen Elkin, who is here to provide highlights of her budget director's letter and some of the nuts and bolts of this year's proposed budget. Kristen, welcome you up to the dais.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Budget Day. I'm Kristen Elkin, the county's budget director. I use she, her pronouns. I would like to just let us know that this action today actually officially kicks off the budget process so that we can publicly talk about the budget, which is very exciting. I do want to note that we haven't put that tagline on the front of the budget document, but maybe we just add that as America's best county to the final adoption of the budget. So if you all want to direct me to adopt that tagline, I'd be happy to do so. So the proposed budget document is I believe, already online, and you can find that at www.multco.us/budget. It is publicly available. If anyone would like a hard copy of the budget, they can reach out to the budget office and we can provide that hard copy to them. We will be releasing our public Tableau dashboard that I know everybody is always excited to see and to be able to access midweek next week. As you can imagine, all of these things kind of stack up on the budget office, and so we're just ensuring that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that all the numbers that we're releasing match everything that's in this $4 billion budget that's in front of you. We have an exciting 7 weeks planned together. We're going to start with some deliberation. We're going to discuss the budget. Including during that time, we have 3 public work sessions that are already noticed and up on our website as well, where we'll be excited to engage with the community. And then your next official action as the board will be on May 8th when you approve the budget, and we will transmit it to the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission. As we discussed on Tuesday, after that action of approving the budget, no major fund at the 4-digit fund level can be increased by more than 10%, and we cannot change our property tax estimates. Next week, we will kind of officially kick off the budget process here in the boardroom, where we'll be spending a lot of time together. I will do a budget overview where we're going to spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours together, kind of walking you through the top line information that's in the budget. I assume you all will be asking me very detailed questions. Some of those I will be able to answer. Other of those I will say, you're going to hear about that when the departments come and present their budget. It's also an opportunity for you all to start signaling the kind of policy issues and things that you would like to be discussed during some of those department presentations. So I really encourage that we have that discussion and that dialogue. You'll also hear from Joy Fowler, our Office of Diversity and Equity Director, to talk about how we embedded the budget equity lens in our process. And we'll also kick off with the Central CBAC and their approach to how they're engaging with the departments as part of this dialogue as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the chair and see if there's any questions today. Hope it's not a test. It's a pretty big budget, so, but thank you for the opportunity this morning.
Thank you so much, Christian, for all your help, and we will be seeing so much of you in the next 7 weeks. It'll be wonderful. All right, well, I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Christian right now? Okay, it doesn't seem.
I do.
Okay.
Yes, and it may not be you, but I think it is.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you so much. Christian, I just had a couple of questions that we didn't get to on our Tuesday work session. Do we have a standard reading level for the budget so that people with differential reading abilities can actually access this information?
That is a great question, and actually, I immediately got a follow-up from Althea in my office. If none of you have met Althea, you'll know that this is a big passion project for her. I think the struggle right now is that there's so many different people who participate in the budget process and write program offers and those types of things. So we have a style guide and a guide to how they should be written and things that we should be doing, but we haven't had the tools and the ability to really train everyone up on that, but it definitely is a goal of ours. I imagine I'm probably failing at that goal right now when you read the budget director's message, because there's just a lot of terms in Oregon budget law that we have to use by law that would immediately fail that test. We have glossaries, we're really trying to really write it in that like really common language, but I would say we're probably at a C+, B- right now, and that we have some improvement and some opportunity to do that. The other issue that we see with ADA is the font size. Do you have your budget with you? I saw you walk in with it, District 4. The font size, if we want to hold that up, the font size becomes very challenging in like how big that document is, and so we're really trying to figure out how to manage that as well. And then to embed a lot of the like how to read this graph and those types of things. So it is definitely on the forefront of our and I just haven't had like full capacity to be able to address all of those all at once, but we're definitely thinking about it and trying to find ways to process improve in that area.
Thank you so much. And I think for this year, what should people do if they're having trouble with accessibility issues? Is there guidance on the website of where to go and how to get help?
I don't think there's guidance on the website, but I do welcome that feedback, and we'll look to my partners across the county on how to implement that onto our website. So thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And then the last piece is, are documents available in multiple languages? And is that a request that goes through the what we're going to do?
Currently, they're not available in multiple languages, and again, on the work plan and looking for that. And I know as we're upgrading our website too, we also have work that's going on with information technology and the Office of Diversity and Equity of how do we implement all of that. So it's I think everybody's working around it, and we're working towards that, but currently no.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll follow up with you offline, I think, to give some ideas on, again, it's not just you, it's the website in general that I know we're working on. But I want to make sure we can make this as accessible for folks to be able to read the information.
Absolutely, and I welcome all of that process improvement opportunity.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So this isn't a voting item, but in the spirit of kicking off our public budget process, I know that we have people signed up for public testimony, so I want, Marina, if you would bring that, and then I want to offer the board a chance to share some of your values or perspective as we're kicking off the public budget process.
We have 6 people signed up. I'll call 4 people at a time. Noel Silhan, Amanda Bowman Magia, Kim McCarty, and Deanne Salazar.
All right, go ahead. Hello, my name is Noelle. Thank you for letting me speak today. I just heard the budget plan being released, but I'm here to express my deep concerns regarding the proposed reduction in staff, particularly with nurses, in the Multnomah County Health Department's Communicable Disease Program. I sit here as an ONA nurse. I've worked on the Communicable Disease Services team since 2019. The Communicable Disease Department is a small but mighty department in public health consisting of only 5 staff members. The proposed budget cuts would mean a 60% cut to our program. And so since we don't have a whole lot of visibility in our program, I just want to let people know that we work to prevent the emergence and spread of communicable diseases. And we do that by collecting data, analyzing disease reports, studying risk factors, developing guidelines, and providing education. Much of our work focuses on providing support to vulnerable populations, including people experiencing homelessness or housing instability, those who have recently immigrated to the United States with limited or no resources, as well as LGBTQ+ and BIPOC. We have worked extensively with communities that are vaccine hesitant to gain trust in populations that have historical mistrust in government health. And our partners count on our support to provide non-judgmental counseling about the value of immunizations. This work is more important than ever given the rise of vaccine hesitancy and the decline of support for immunizations at the federal level. Here are some especially concerning recent communicable disease outbreak trends. We have seen local and national outbreaks of measles are on the rise, with federal leadership stoking the flames of vaccine hesitancy in a country with declining vaccination rates. Communicable Disease Services has responded to all reported measles cases immediately with all hands on deck. We are relied upon to respond immediately to any notification of these cases. Cuts to our staff will definitely impede our ability to respond immediately. Furthermore, in the past year, Oregon has seen the highest number of cases of pertussis, also called whooping cough, since the year 1950. This illness disproportionately affects vulnerable populations, including infants, older people, people with weakened immune systems, and Communicable Disease Services has had a designated responsible nurse to do the surveillance and response. This position is also at risk of being cut. Similarly, in 2024, Multnomah County saw a record number of Shigella cases, a bacterial disease causing gastrointestinal illness. I ask you to reconsider budget cuts to public health to restore public safety and reduce the risk of illness and death. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Bowman Mejia. I'm a district-wide school social worker at Centennial School District. I'm here today to testify in support of the Multnomah County school-based therapy program, specifically at Centennial Middle School, Oliver Middle School, Parkland Elementary, as well as George Middle School, Cleveland, Benson, and Franklin within PPS. Yesterday, 6 of the therapists found out that they are being laid off. These positions are irreplaceable. Speaking to the context I work in, our Spanish-speaking youth will not have reliable access to mental health services, and we would have 0 Spanish-speaking providers at the middle school level for all of Centennial School District. Cutting these positions would also have a severe impact on the school staff workload and would hinder the ability of school social workers like myself and counselors from supporting the broader student community. Many of our Centennial families do not have reliable transportation, jobs that allow flexible scheduling, or the support needed to navigate a cumbersome and failing mental health system in Oregon. These barriers are exacerbated when considering race, class, language skills, chronic trauma, and homelessness. The school-based therapists effectively meet students where they are, most of whom would never be able to see a therapist otherwise. I have personally seen the ways that the Centennial school-based therapists have kept students connected to school and have not only cultivated a sense of belonging for our Spanish-speaking students, but also for their families. In addition, the therapists also provide holistic care to students through resource navigation, case management, and advocacy, which goes a long way for harnessing long-term stability. The work that these therapists provide is literally life-saving and allows students the opportunity to grow, heal, and thrive. I urge you to please continue funding the school-based mental health program because our Centennial students deserve quality mental health care that is responsive to their cultural needs and meets them where they are. Without this care, I'm very concerned about the broader impacts on our families, the Centennial community, and Multnomah County as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, thank you. So hello, my name is Dean Salazar, as you well know, and I am a community and youth advocate who is also running for Dave Douglas School Board. I'm here today, the big unveiling of the chair's proposed budget, asking this board to not cut funding for the school-based mental health program and the Sexual and Gender Minority Youth Resource Center. Now, more than ever, our youth need these scarce resources. While our federal government feigned to make mental health a basic healthcare right in this country, we all know the resources are scarce and practically non-existent for our low-income neighbors. That aside, many students are fearful of asking their parents for this type of resource even if they can afford it, because of the perceived stigma or pushback they might receive if they tell their parents. This program reduces youth suicide, reduces issues between students in the schools, and helps keep attendance rates up and grades up for students using these services. I would well know, since I myself have a lot of experience on this issue, professional and lived experience. Pretty much all the same can be said for the Sexual and Gender Minority Youth Resource Center, often referred to by its acronym SMYRC, S-M-Y-R-C. Particularly, given our current federal administration's view on our LGBTQ+ neighbors, we need this resource now more than ever. Our young people need safe spaces where they can access support, tools, and programs to help them with many facets of their lives, to help them navigate things in a way that helps them succeed. We absolutely cannot cut these vital programs. And I urge the board to find the money somewhere in the budget to retain them. Thank you.
Next, we have Charles Johnson and Lightning.
Good morning. It's good to be back. I'm Bridge Crane Charles Simca Johnson, and I think we'll just stick to what's immediate first. Microjustice. When a department is facing a 60% cut, and to make sure that the commissioners are well informed, an employee of the county health department has to come in here and spend time in public comment. Many of your constituents believe that employees should be on the clock. There should be reimbursement because public health is just another, this body sometimes is the experts at kicking the can down the road. When you gut school-based mental health, you're just creating higher expenses later. If we gut communicable diseases, I assure you, we'll be kicking the can down the road. I was especially close to the Shigella situation, which required us to put more toilets and hygiene stations into Old Town Chinatown area. But then just on a tiny bit, it's like, even though it's only 1 hour or 2 hours out of a person's payroll a week, they shouldn't have to do that on their personal time. I've taken a couple-week vacation from you all. The chair mentioned the, I can't recall now if it's the Homeless Response Action Plan or just the Homeless Response Plan. Of course, it has to be totally rewritten based on what we learned 2 weeks ago, or on the 17th, with the release of the Tableau dashboard. I like a lot of outlets like OPB and some other local publications, but we'll go with what Ms. Lillian Mongeau-Hughes wrote in the Oregonian, Oregon Live, where she cited the Tableau dashboard and 14,824 homeless people. Fortunately, about 8,000 of them can double up and stay with relatives or something like that. And so we say that there's 6,796 homeless people. Are they going to fix themselves without case management and assistance? Are we ever going to write a real honest budget that says how many human resource man hours, people hours have to be allotted as a minimum to help a person transition from homelessness to somewhere else? I cannot believe that what we've done, we've had hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion, and then these numbers come out a couple weeks ago that are worse than anything. Addie Smith is probably right. You all need to be voted out, even though you're fresh. It's not, you're not responsible. Of course, you're going to need to have, I think Dan Fields is leaving, and that would leave the county-based expert as also Ms. Singleton to talk about why this system has let this problem get to this scale and how we can arrest it without spending $2,000 per room on people in a hotel owned by an out-of-state party. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Superhumanity X. Again, I want to make it very clear on the Multnomah County Animal Services, what I call hospital. I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding that I still believe that Portland needs to fund our budget on that. And I would hope that Chair Pederson has made communication over to the mayor stating that it is their responsibility, as well as Multnomah County's, to take care of the dogs and the cats. And for the city of Portland not to step forward and offer funding per the budget, I think is shameful. And the reality is we're looking at a new development. We have a $4 billion budget to work from. It's never been done before because for whatever reason, the commissioners and the chair were just sitting back and going, well, the dogs and the cats aren't that important to us, so we won't develop a new building for them, and we won't offer them hospital standards, quality care, and the services. We won't make sure that they're all licensed properly, microchipped properly. We're going out to the neighborhoods, having discussions with them to make sure the animals are microchipped properly, working with the neighborhood communities and associations to bring that all together. Of course, we won't do that because Multnomah County has done such a wonderful job in the past at Multnomah County Animal Services, as stated in the Oregonian. Again, your development needs to move forward. You need to bring more funding forward. You need to have better communication with the city of Portland and their understanding they need to bring money forward for the budget, and they need to bring money forward for the development itself. They need to start thinking about that. They need to make sure that they hear that through the good friends of the media. Because at the end of the day, when you truly talk about people who do not have a voice or the animals that don't have a voice, that would be the dogs and the cats. They truly don't have a voice at the table. And I want to make sure that we're working also with Oregon State University. If we had some people that would just take the time to go there and talk to the professionals that truly understand veterinarian issues and the dogs and the cats and what they want to see develop. So again, it comes down to the budget. I think we're on the low side here, and I want the city of Portland to step in.
Thank you.
One more check for Kim McCarty. Chair, that is all the public testimony, and we received 4 written testimonies as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll go to the board for any comments or any that you want to share, again, as we're kicking off the public budget period. So Commissioner Moyer.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to start by thanking all the departments and staff that put in countless hours to get to where we are today, that it's never an easy process when asked for a reduction list, and nobody takes reductions lightly. And I know that a lot of thought has gone into the chair's budget. Now that we're entering a new phase where the commission will be looking and diving deep into this recommended budget, I wanted to state what my values will be during this budget process, and not particular programs or anything, but just where the perspective in which I will be approaching this work, the questions I will ask, and the priorities I will make in regards to proposed cuts or investments. The first is that no reductions are enjoyable. Certainly nobody wants to see any individual lose employment. I will be prioritizing direct services to individuals during this incredibly hard process. And so I am very interested in the public weighing in on programs that they personally have engaged with, priorities related to services that they wish to see, if possible, restored, and also opportunities in which we could do things different or better. But I will be looking from a lens of trying our very best to preserve the direct services to our most vulnerable residents of Multnomah County.
Thank you. Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Chair. I as well want to appreciate the county employees that have put so much work into this budget process. And I know, as we just heard during public comment, that there are still a number of county employees who are being asked to do their very difficult jobs today with the potential loss of job in June. I think about those who work at the STI clinic and the school-based mental health providers in particular. I know there are those in the community who are also nervous about the elections budget as we are moving into ranked choice voting for the first time in Multnomah County. We hear you and appreciate you showing up, speaking up, and continuing to provide care and space to those that you serve. I want to give a special appreciation to the school-based mental health team who has taken time to come here regularly, but also to meet with me and help me understand the actual impact of cuts and which positions and students would be impacted by those. And we will look for opportunities to bring those positions back as we move forward in this next phase of the budget. You deserve for us as a board to keep sight of our role in this process and to work in good faith and transparency and collaboration as we move forward. My goal is to preserve programs with the highest positive impact on our vulnerable communities, our BIPOC, our LGBTQIA2S+, people with disabilities. Questions I have and will continue to ask our department directors include: what is the impact of your program on these equity priority communities? What other programs were considered for reductions? And what were the impact of those programs on our equity priority communities? How did county frontline staff, contracted frontline service providers, consumers or patients or clients or whatever people are referred to in our different departments, how did their voice influence your budget process, and how did their recommendations influence what you put forward in your reductions? And I ask this because, excuse me, most of the CBAC letters refer to meeting with leadership, but few, if any, refer to meeting with staff. I'm also interested in preserving any programs that utilize general fund to leverage federal or state dollars. And I'm trying to take a look at this from across the entire enterprise, because a 2% cut in one department and a 5% in another can total a very significant cut for one community. And it's very important that we don't allow that to happen. I think it's, excuse me, I think it's also critical to mention that we are in the midst of a federal government where we don't know necessarily in this moment in time what potential impacts will be. And so I will be looking at if we proposed a cut because we thought another program would fund it, but we have found out that the federal government has cut that, like fair housing investigations, for example, that might be something that we look to preserve. I think it's critical that we as a board ensure that we are protecting the most vulnerable in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Berman Edwards.
So today is a starting point for the commission's consideration of the budget, and I want to join with the chair and fellow commissioners in thanking everyone who spent a lot of time, I think, very thoughtfully thinking about how we continue to deliver on our mission with the resources we have and the resources we also may not have. I'm looking forward to our discussion as a commission and talking about our priorities more in depth, and how do we craft a budget that moves the county forwards and gets after our biggest challenges. I'm also going to be focused on direct services that make a meaningful difference for those that we're committed and both obligated to serve. Throughout this budget process, I'll also be focused on priorities important to residents in my district of East Portland: homelessness, access to mental health and substance use services, public safety, and economic growth and opportunity. On homelessness, given the commission's, I'm just going to speak maybe briefly on just the maybe 3 or 4 areas that I'm going to be focused on in the budget. Not that I, as everybody knows from last year, I'll be, throughout the budget process, I believe every department and part of the county deserves for us to look through at what we're investing in and what we are potentially making reductions in, and how we're best aligning our resources and prioritizing. But some of the big topics that I'll be very much focused on during the budget process, the first is homelessness. Given the commission's shared commitment to addressing homelessness, it's imperative we prioritize funding to maintain existing shelter capacity, fulfill our commitment to deliver on the community sheltering strategy. The City of Portland, which clearly is going to be our partner in this effort, and is just starting their budget process. It's essential how we consider how our budget priorities advance our joint work with the City of Portland in terms of the Homelessness Response Action Plan and making meaningful reductions in homelessness while connecting more people to long-term housing placements. I'm really appreciative that Commissioner Singleton brought forward earlier the sort of discussion that we had about what are the effective strategies. So when we get into the Homeless Services Department's budget and talk about SHS, are we prioritizing the most effective strategies to reduce homelessness? So with more than 14,000 homeless individuals homeless in our county, I'm going to want to understand how this budget prioritizes effective strategies to make homelessness brief, rare, and non-reoccurring. As part of the deployment, in addition, as part of the deployment of both the SHS dollars and our video lottery dollars, which by the state constitution should be focused on economic development, I'm going to be looking at how we support employment readiness, workforce development services, and economic development in the county, just to get sharper on that. I'm also noting in the chair's proposed budget, there's some very important sort of pre-employment or employment readiness and workforce readiness programs that are reduced and that serve East Portland and East County. So I'm looking forward to having the discussion about that and how we continue to support those services. In terms of sort of the second big item on improving access to mental health and substance use treatment related services, when I look at the health department's, taking first glance at the health department budget, there's many reductions that are concerning. If we think about how we're prioritizing that, again, focusing our resources on effective strategies. So I'm concerned about the school-based mental health services. Obviously, we heard from Centennial this morning, also heard from Park Rose and other school districts in East Portland about the importance, and many of them not having money to backfill those services. We know that following the pandemic, many of our children and youth have very significant mental health issues and needs, and the school-based mental health services have helped, I think, transition and help students as they come out of COVID and very long periods of isolation for for our students. So I'm looking forward to when we get the health department's budget, really talking about the investments and the reductions and how we, in the most effective way, continue to offer essential services. I'll say I was heartened to see continued investments and the allocation of state dollars to the permanent 24/7 sobering and crisis stabilization service. This is important front door to services and sort of building out the continuum that we know is necessary to support individuals in the county on their path to recovery. On community safety, during last year's budget deliberations, I offered amendments that were adopted by the commission to better support community safeties with investments in both the sheriff's and the district attorney's office. Many of those amendments were adopted, although my amendment to provide support to the sheriff's office for HR staff was only partially filled, and then mid-year backfilled. So I'm really, and that staffing is important for the safety of our staff, adults in custody, and also community safety. So I'm heartened to see that in this budget there is the continuation of that funding to support adequate staffing in our jails. I'll say that it appears, while the conversion of the funding for the district attorney's office one-time funding positions were moved to ongoing funding, there also are other reductions, though, that were made. So in some ways, while I think it's positive to move positions that are actually ongoing positions from one-time money to ongoing, there still are some pretty important reductions that are being made in the DA's office, which I think will have a systemic impact on the effectiveness and efficiency of our system of justice in the county and potentially impacting community safety. I'm going to be interested in terms of the investments when we get into deeper into the budgets on expanding the gun safety strategies and initiatives with a proven record of reducing gun violence. We still, although we've seen some reduction in gun violence in the county and in East Portland, they still are very at elevated levels, and I'm going to want to see what strategies we're employing or doubling down on ones that are effective. So I'm looking forward to what I hope are rigorous and vigorous discussions among the commission on our priorities and how we best serve the county. And I appreciate, again, the chair bringing forward a sort of opening document and to all the staff who worked on it as well. I'm looking forward to our engagement as we move forward in a difficult year.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
Great, thank you, Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for just the remarks and just the work that has gone into putting together the budget so far. And I'll share a little bit about as far as our office and how we're looking through the budget. I'll start with, as I mentioned at the beginning of the year, the county mentioned that racism is a public health issue here within the county. So a lot of the services that have been provided, that's the lens that we'll be looking at just about everything through. The three things that we're going to focus on primarily is the youth violence prevention and opportunities programs here throughout the whole county. As most of you know, we started the MOPI program out in East Multnomah County, and really exploring how do we partner with the services with the county through technology and what have you. The other thing that we're focused on is infrastructure and the efforts that we're making through the Director Bradway's department and the impacts that it's having on the roads out in East Multnomah County specifically. And then lastly, just economic development, primarily just jobs for our most vulnerable, both youth and those that are transitioning back home from incarceration and those that are facing housing insecurity. We've seen a ton of success through organizations like Cultivate Initiatives and then others that Work Systems are partnering with. I'm looking forward to, again, our first rodeo going through the budget. It's a lot, but look forward to working through that with our colleagues and hearing directly from community members. And then lastly, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, the student-based mental health clinicians and support. You guys are not only supporting the students, you're also supporting families too. So I'm just going to, we'll be fighting to ensure that they're fully funded. So thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the next 7 weeks of work with all of you as we do have our vigorous conversations and hard conversations, but make important decisions. And I just appreciate the shared values that we have and the work that we're going to do together. So